Hello students, and once again welcome, and this is my video number 8 on students for 8th grade Igcse mathematics. Okay, and as you know, I am right now discussing chapter number 1 from the Collins book. Okay, so I have already covered some 7 videos before this one. This is the 8th one. Okay, so let us get started with, and the topic for this 8th part of this video is something called SURDS. Okay, now SURD, SURD. What is a SURD, right? A SURD is a number which is irrational. So basically any SURD is an irrational number. Okay, it is shown by radical sign, and this SURD will always have a radical sign. You know what is radical sign? Either it is a square root sign or a cube root sign or a fourth root sign, or in general nth root sign, okay, with some number over here inside, right? So numbers of this form are known as numbers in radical form. So SURDs are always shown in the radical form. So those are numbers in the radical form. They are irrational. Okay, so the striking points are any SURD is irrational. First of all, it is always shown in the radical sign form or radical form. And for example, square root of a non-perfect square. So square root of any number will have a square root sign, okay? And inside that, if there is a non-perfect square under the square root sign, if there is a non-perfect square, then that entire number will evaluate, or it will turn up to an irrational number, because irrational number definition is that only, okay? A non-perfect square under a square root sign is irrational. Same way, a non-perfect cube under a cube root sign is also irrational. So some of the examples I have given here. Example, root of 2. Now square root of 2 is irrational because 2 is a non-perfect square, and because it is under the square root sign, okay, it is irrational. So this is an example of a SURD. Root 3 is also a SURD because square root of 3 is a number which is shown in the radical form, and you can see that 3 is a non-perfect square, and when a non-perfect square is placed under the square root sign, okay, it is irrational. So again, this is a SURD. Same way, root of 12 is also SURD because 12 is non-perfect. Cube root of 15 is also a SURD because 15 is not a perfect cube. 15 is not a perfect cube. Okay. Cube root of 25. This is also a SURD because 25 is not a perfect cube. And 255 is also cube. I mean, fourth root of 255 is also SURD because 255 is a number which is not a fourth root of any number. Okay. So it's not a fourth root of any number. Okay. So for example, if you have fourth root of 256, then this will get reduced to 4. Why? Because 4 multiplied by 4, that if you go on for if you multiply for 4, multiply 4 by 4 times. 4 into 4 into 4 into 4. This can be written as 4 raised to 4. Okay. Now 4 4s are 16. This 4 4s are 16, and 16 into 16 is 256. Right. So 256 can be expressed as 4 raised to 4, and therefore 256 can be shown in the radical form as fourth root of 256. But this is not an irrational number. Why? Because 256 is a perfect fourth power of 4. Okay, and therefore 250, fourth root of 256 is not SURD because it will not be irrational. It will be rational. 4 is a rational number. But fourth root of 255 will definitely be a rational number. It will be an irrational number. Okay, and that is why it will be a SURD. So now you must have understood the idea of SURD. SURD is what? First of all, it is a number written in a radical form. Second, it has to be irrational, and for it to be irrational, you have to check that under the square root sign the number has to be a non-perfect square. Under a cube root sign the number has to be a non-perfect cube. Under the fourth root sign, you have to see that the number that is there should not be a fourth power of any number. Okay. Now let us take example of root 4. Root 4 is a number which is expressed in the radical form. But that doesn't mean now half of the information is correct. That is, it is expressed in the radical sign. But then whether it is irrational or rational, now root 4 will reduce to 2. Okay, root 4 will reduce to 2. 2 is an integer and all integers are rational numbers. So you can say root 4 is a rational number. But you cannot call it as a surd because surd has to be irrational. So because it is rational, square root of 4 is rational, and even though it is written in the radical form like root 4, still it is not a surd. So root 4 is not a surd. Okay. Cube root of 27, again it is not a surd because 27 is a perfect cube. Cube root of 27 can be written in the reduced form as 3 because 3 into 3 into 3 is 27. So you have a cube root of 27 which is 3. Okay, so it is a rational number. So this is not a surd, right? Square root of 81, not a surd because 81 is a perfect square. Fourth root of 256, not a surd because 256 can be written as 4 raised to 4. Okay, so it is a rational number, not a irrational number. So you have to check two things. It has to be irrational, and second, it has to be in a radical form. Okay. So basically, a surd is always in a radical form, but you have to check whether it is rational or irrational. All numbers in the radical form will not be surd because all numbers in the radical form may not be irrational. But those numbers in the radical form which are irrational are called as surds. Is that clear? So this is the meaning of surd. Now, let us take this example. If you want to estimate square root of 55, then how you will do that? Square root of 55. Now, square root of 55 is a surd. Am I right? Square root of 55 is a surd. It is a surd. Now, why it is a surd? Because 55 is a non-perfect square, and a non-perfect square placed under a square root sign will always be irrational. So this is a surd because root 55 is irrational. Okay. Second thing is, if you want to estimate the value of root 55, what is the trick? What is the method? Or what is the analogy of the what is the this thing and the step that you have to follow to find out square root? Of course, you will not get a exact value, but you can estimate the value of root 55. Now, how to do that? Now, root 55. Okay. Now, remember this word, this number 55. Okay. Now, this is square root. Okay. So root of 55, okay, square root of 55 will be some number, okay, which we want to estimate, right? So now you think of a number just bigger than 55, which is a perfect square, okay? So perfect square numbers are 1 ka square is 1, 2 ka square is 4. So 1 is a perfect square, 2 square, 4 is a perfect square, 3 square, 9 is a perfect square. Then 4 4s are 16, so 16 is a perfect square. Okay, so that way if you go, then 49 is a perfect square. 49 is 7 square. Okay, 7 after 7 square comes 8 square. 8 square is what? 64. So 64 is a perfect square. 49 is a perfect square. It is a square of 7. 64 is a perfect square. It is a square of 8. Okay. Now can you see 7 square and 8 square? Right, 7 square is 49, 8 square is 64. Now, in between these two, you will have a number which will be square root of 55. Because 55 is a number between 64 and 49. Okay, so you have to choose one number on the left and one on the right. Okay, which are perfect squares. Okay, of 55. So, on the one side, there should be a perfect square bigger than 55. On the other side, there should be a number less than 55, which should be perfect square. So root of 55 can be written as root lying between root of 64 and root of 49. Am I right? So I have written here root of 49 is 7 into 7 and root of 64 is 8 into 8. So this can be written as 7 square. This can be written as 8 square. Okay. So when you write in a order, root of 49 will be less than root of 55 and root of 55 will be less than root of 64. Okay, these two number has to be consecutive. Okay, one after another. So this is root of 49 is 7, root of 64 is 8. So this root of 55 will be between 7 and 8, right? So one thing is clear, root of 55, we have estimated the value to be between 7 and 8. But then between 7 and 8, how much? So for that, what you have to do, again, you have to go and on the number line, you plot these three numbers, okay, which are under the square root sign, that is 49, 55, and 64. So can you see on this number line, I have plotted 49, 55, and 64. Now, what is the difference between 49 and 55 over here? It is 6 units. Okay, so 49 plus 6 is 55. So you can say 49 is 6 units away from 55 on the left hand side. Same way, 64 is a number which is 9 units away from the number 55 on the right hand side. So this is 9 units, this is 6 units, isn't it? So roughly, if you take square root of 55, then the square root of 55 will be more nearer to square root of 49. Am I right? So square root of 49 is 7 and square root of 64 is 8. So this square root of 55, don't you think it is more nearer to this 7? Because between this and this, the distance is 6. And between this and this, the distance is 9. So you can say square root of 55 is more closer to 6. So your answer should be around 6.4, you can say. Okay, or you can say, yeah, that way you can say it is more, more closer to 7, not 6. Okay, this is 7. So root of 55 will be more closer to 7 and it will be far away from 8. So more closer, so you have to write the root of 55 approximately using the left hand side digit. Okay, that is left hand side number. So that is 7. So because it is closer, so you can write 7.4. Okay, 7.4. Right. If it is further away, then you should have written 7.5 or 7.6 or 7.8, whatever you feel. Okay, but that should be more than 7.5 if it was further away. But it is closer to 7, so I have written less than 7.5. So let me write 7.4. Okay. One more example I'll give you. Cube root of 20. Now this cube root of 20, if you want to estimate its value roughly, what I'll do is, see, the number under the radical sign is 20. Okay, and this is cube root of 20. So I'll try to find out numbers, okay, which are slightly higher than this 20 and slightly lower than this 20. Okay, so on the left hand side, I will write, now this is cube. Okay, so after 20 comes 21, but 21 is not a perfect cube. 22 is also not a perfect cube. 24 is not a perfect cube. 25 is not a perfect cube. 26 is not, but 27 is a perfect cube. So I will take cube root of 27. Okay, this is how much cube root of 27 is, how much? You know, it is 3, right? And this will be cube root of 20. Okay, so from 20, I went on the higher side and saw which is a perfect cube, and I got the answer as 27. So cube root of 27 will be the next cube root after cube root of 20. And on the left hand side, same way I will do less than 20. So less than 20 is 19, but 19 is not a perfect cube. 18 is not a perfect cube. Okay. Then 17, 16, and 15, 14, 13. Okay, so you go on 9, 10, and 8. So 8 is a perfect cube. So I can write here cube root of 8. Is that clear? And how much is cube root of 8? It is 2. So between 2 and 3, you will see that cube root of 20 lies between 2 and 3. Okay. Now this is what you want to estimate. So one thing is clear, it is between 2 and 3. So again go on the number line. See, this is number line. So this is your cube root of 8 and this is your cube root of 27. This is 2 and this is 3. Okay. Now see the number inside the radical sign. This is 8, this is 20 and this is 27. Don't you feel that this 20 is more closer to 27 and this 8 is further away from this 20? Isn't it? So this distance being larger and this distance being less, you have to always write the answer, the estimated answer, with respect to the left hand side number, with respect to this 2. So the answer for this cube root of 20 will be approximately 2, and because this is further away from 2, so you can write either 2.8, 2.7, okay, whatever, but it should be more than 2.5. Okay, I have written 2.8 because I can see in comparison to this, okay, this distance is quite large. So therefore I have taken, after the decimal, I have taken the number as 8. Okay. So this is how you have to understand what is the meaning of a surd, number one, and how to estimate, because it is an irrational number. So it will not be a integer. It will not be a rational number. It will be an irrational number, right? So it will be a very rough number. So if you want to estimate the value of a surd, this is one of the methods that can be used. Okay, so I showed you two examples: square root of 55, which is a surd, how to find the estimated value, how to estimate its value, that I have told you. It should be approximately 7.4. Second example, I gave you cube root of 20. That is also a surd. It is irrational number. So all surds are irrational number. If you want to find the value, approximate value, it will be 2.8. Okay. So this was my today's session number 8. And in the next session, I'll be starting with exercise 3 of this first chapter. Okay. Perhaps this exercise 3 will be the last exercise, or maybe there is one more exercise after that. Okay. So that way I will be completing this chapter number 1 in maths for the 8th grade students. Okay. So that's all for today. Okay. See you in the next video. Bye.